We pray for those whose health is compromised by the coronavirus or under other health issues, as those who have lost loved ones for any reason recently. We pray for our excellent healthcare workers, first responders, and our other public servants who have bravely put themselves in harm's way to protect us. We pray for those who are suffering from the economic impact of the virus and for American ingenuity to rise and build back better. We pray to the right racial equity wrongs of the past, unlock true opportunity for all that help everyone remember they possess a value and purpose, peace and freedom and joy and strength the world did not give and the world can take away. All that comes from you is good. God, thank you. Please help us love like you love even people that don't vote like we do. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for that, Monica. Hopefully wherever you are out there, you'll be joining us soon. Would you advance? Okay, please sing along if you know the words. I think that Karina's got the song queued up, one of my dad's favorites, obviously.
Nobody should sing along on Zoom unless they've muted themselves.
That's a good point, yeah.
I was just saying nobody should sing along.
I will mute.
Unless they've muted themselves.
All right.
That was awesome. Thank you, Karina. That was great. Tip the hat to all of the Navy out there and to get the ship on the road, ship on the high seas, rather.
This is the point in the meeting where I remind everyone that you should know by this point how to mute and unmute yourself, but if you do disrupt the meeting by not muting or unmuting yourself, you will be fined. So please make sure you know not to distract and derail the meetings. So that is something that I will be as fine master enforcing. The other thing I want to remind everyone is that you are being recorded, so be careful about picking your nose and all sorts of other things that you do on this video. These are being recorded and they get posted to the website, so just wanted everyone to make sure that you know that. All right, back to you, Mike.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone today. Thank you so much. You know, in the spirit of Judy's leadership, these Zoom calls have really gotten a great momentum, and it's just a delight to see everybody on board for today's program. We do have several guests, and most of them hail from the UCSD group. If Susan would be so kind as to perhaps welcome some of those, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, I am, because I can't see all the participants, I'm not sure. I know I have a number of my staff members that are joining. We'll have Eli Straight from UCSD Regional Burn Center providing a wonderful presentation about their excellent work here for our local community. So if you see some unknown names, they're probably my staff or related to the Burn Institute or UCSD. So welcome, friends.
Yeah, and welcome back, Glenn. Glenn, do you have good internet at this point? Or are you still frozen?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Solid.
How was your trip? Tell us just a little brief about your trip. Didn't you just go on a nice voyage?
We just went up to Big Bear for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was fun. A million people up there, up to Big Bear Lake.
Oh yeah, I know everything's starting to get crowded again. For sure.
Yeah, really hard to go out to eat up there. There's, it's a 2 to 3 hour wait to get a table anywhere. It's a good thing we rent a place with a kitchen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's always a good call to get a little Airbnb that's got a kitchen or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, little cabin.
Welcome, everyone.
How's that?
Welcome back. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move forward. Karina?
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were referring to the last meeting I missed, which was, we were in Del Mar where my son was taking the bar. I completely forgot about that. We had gotten away.
I know you've been just you very obligated of late, but again, great to have you back. And
okay, thanks. I'm sorry I've forgotten about the last meeting, why I wasn't there. So excuse me.
Not at all.
All right. So we did celebrate some birthdays at the last meeting. We have lots of October birthdays this month. If we were missing any of the ones we didn't sing to, Gordon or John or Dick, if they were on today, we would sing, but they're not. So we'll just be sure to remind them that they're celebrating their birthday, which also means that they owe us some money as a Kiwanis tradition. We always ask for a donation to the club of the years of life for, plus the years of Kiwanis service. So I anticipate some big checks coming our way, and we've already received a few. So starting off strong for Mike's year for birthday fines.
Yeah, happy birthday once again to everyone.
Speaking of fines, let's start with pins or any sort of Kiwanis flair. Who wants to fess up if they don't have anything on? Joe, Gary, Justin, Lauren, are you taking notes? At least this is being recorded, so I can go back and see.
Mike, you can't count the bell.
Looks like we're all in compliance.
Yeah.
Excellent.
If Brian Krause was here, I would fine him for canceling a meeting yesterday that we were supposed to have so that he could watch the Chiefs play. So if anyone sees Brian, know that he's going to get some hefty fines coming his way. All right.
I am gonna self-fine
Okay.
because I made such huge overtures for the Padres during the last meeting, and of course, it's the men in blue who are at the World Series. So I'm gonna give up $10. I already do have my Dodgers blue on as promised, but no, I do not have any jerseys or anything marking the Dodgers in my possession, so I couldn't do that.
Well, speaking of our Dodger fan, Doug Frost, I could feel like Doug owes me some money for bailing again last minute on game night last week. So, Doug, you can find yourself $1 or $2 for having to do other duties that seem to trump the most important club that is this one. So.
Yeah, I'll put in 5 for your use of the word Trump.
I would like to find Karina for the use of the word. And
Okay.
I will put in $5 too.
And
Sure,
and
I'll find myself 5.
I need to find myself 5 because I'm going to have to leave a little bit early this afternoon. So I'll find myself for partial attendance.
Great.
Or I could just turn my camera and microphone off and make it look like I'm still sitting here.
Sure. How would we know?
Yeah, here,
David J. Awesome.
there we go.
Great. Okay, speaking of fines, we've been circulating a membership survey and only about 6 people have replied. So this is your first warning that if in the next couple weeks you don't finish the survey at the next meeting, if you're there and you haven't done it, we're going to fine you. The survey is really important because it's really going to help shape the upcoming year. It's a nice reset. We're going 101 years. So just it'd be really helpful to get all of the members to reply, tell us what you like, what you don't like, so we can really come up with a solid 2020-21 year. So thank you to everyone that has already filled it out. We'll start to name these people so you all get virtual gold stars. But for the people that don't fill it out, yes, we will start whipping you all into shape and getting you to fill out that membership membership survey. Speaking of, another fun fine is starting a winner's circle. So starting this month, if you've attended a meeting, whether it's our luncheon or our social, we're going to have two different pools. You get points, and the person that attends the most luncheons and the person that attends the most socials at the end of the year will get a huge prize. And we will every meeting start announcing the top 3 people in both categories so that you all can have some friendly competition and make sure that you come out to these meetings. Another thing we're going to be implementing is 1 meeting a month. So we ask all of our members to try and come on, even if you can just connect your computer and blank out your screen and go be playing with your dog outside, it doesn't matter, just try and show up. We do a lot to try and get the programming, like excellent speakers. So we really like to see more participation from our club and, you know, really give the speakers that are taking time out of their day the real value that they deserve. So lots of fun things for Pres Bowl and Zier. It's really just me finding ways to find all of you guys. So, you know, if anyone wants to try and fight me on it, we'll have words later. But yeah, so keep attending and we will start making those announcements starting next month. All right. But speaking of on the lighter note, what if anyone have something good to share, or sad, happy or sad? This is our Bill's Bucks section. We all remember Bill Gibbs. He lived to 106 and attended luncheons up until the very end. And at every meeting, he would donate $1 and say, "I'm still here." So this is the time where we'd love to hear what's going on in your lives. Anyone want to take it away?
I'll go. I want to add 15 happy dollars for a total of 20. And I'm so happy that my niece, who's been living with her boyfriend for the last almost 10 years, finally decided to get married about a year ago this February. And with COVID, she's been just so anxious, and finally has decided just to have a COVID wedding. And she's going to have it in Oakland on November 20th. Very small, but still it'll be beautiful. And I'm just so happy for her. Gina Schumacher and Eric Weldon. So $15 for
That's
me.
fantastic, Judy. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
My sister-in-law has been dating a guy for 10 years, and I'm hoping that you know, to have a brother-in-law, but I can't quite make it happen. So maybe that'll start inspiring her.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got I need like $1,000 worth of fines to talk about what's going on with me. It's been amazing, but I'll say that we're building the yurts. I forwarded a couple of images. I don't know. Can you share those? Oh, there we go. Great. Hey, so we decided to wait till COVID was over and start building. So last week we had 15 guys up to the ranch, and that included 3 of our boys, and we almost finished one of the foundations for the yurts to go on. And we've got another build party going up there this weekend. So we're going to have the Kiwanis yurts up here before the end of the year. So we're making progress there. So thank you all for that. And I'll just say, and then there's Ryan and Tim Callan. We did the 100 Wave Challenge a few weeks ago. We've done 10 events. We have 30 events to go over the next 5 weeks. And we are currently sitting at $363,000 raised with a goal of $450,000. So
Wow.
I can't believe
that is great news, Joe.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable kindness and generosity. And we're getting huge traction in the surf world. John Florence, who's a 2-time world champion, he's 27 years old. He made a post on Sunday, and he's doing the 100 wave in Hawaii, and it's already got over 57,000 likes and over 500 comments. And it's just, you can't, I mean, it's unbelievable the traction that we're getting from that one post. So super stoked.
Quickly, for those of us who know the 100 wave, is it something you do over the course of time, or is it in one day, or how?
No, it's in
how
one
does that-
day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 100
Great.
waves in one day. And you get a landing page. It's like a Susan G. Komen model. You send out a link to your family and friends saying, I'm doing this ridiculous thing for this wonderful cause. And then, you know, we've raised, I mean, we've only had $30,000 in sponsorship. So that means $330,000 has been raised like 20, 50, $100 at a time from 250 surfers registered. It's ridiculous. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Super stoked.
Great. Congrats. That's huge. Any other happy dollars out there for in honor of Bill Gibbs? Okay.
How do I pay?
Well,
How
go
do I
ahead
pay?
and make your pledge known, and then Lauren will collect and invoice.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, we want to hear from you. Since a lot of people aren't willing to share Bill's bucks, we want to share anything and hear from you. So here are some ideas. We figured since it's October, we'll keep it Halloween themed, but your favorite Halloween movie, the best Halloween costume you've ever had, your annual Halloween traditions. Is there anything fun that anyone can share Halloween related?
Sneaking out of the house and getting in trouble.
That was last year, right, Doug?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll share. We've been having a fun time with the two boys watching Halloween movies. So they're 5 and 7. So we've been enduring a lot of kind of cartoon ones. But when we started to introduce like Hocus Pocus and some 90s and 80s type ones, which is kind of fun. Sometimes they roll their eyes at us and they say, "What is this?" But we're still having a good time.
They're a little young for Mike Myers, wouldn't you say, Justin?
Yeah, we're close.
Well, my son Jackson likes the Peanuts Halloween movie from just a feel-good movie, and then the movie Halloween is his favorite, and I have to concur with him. How do you guys like the hair?
It's great.
Like it?
You should wear that every
All
time.
right.
Yeah. Every meeting.
I can
You might not want to go out in the street yet.
Sean, you say no public appearances with this, only via Zoom?
True.
All right.
The
laughs. I
vogue ain't
like it.
working.
Giggles.
So we still bought a bunch of Halloween candy, and I've eaten a lot of it. And we don't even plan to even have trick-or-treaters, it would appear, but yet we still went to Costco and acted like we were having 1 million people. So I'm not sure what to say. Oh, but we do have a lot of Whoppers, which we don't like. So if anyone wants the little Whopper little packets, let me know. I'll mail them to you. Not my
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you just sift out the candy you don't like, you give it to the kids, and then you keep the stuff you do like. Is that
I do that typically, yes, for sure. Like no kid ever gets a Reese's Pieces out of us, for sure. But now we bought it and we're not having trick-or-treating, it doesn't seem, or people aren't doing that. And so I just feel compelled to eat it all the more. I'm doing my part for Halloween, everyone, just to let you know.
I used to like put on big elaborate Halloween things, but no kids ever come to our house. Ever. We are like at the end of the block, so and there's no houses across the way, so there's nothing for them to hit on the way back. So they just give up and they don't come to our end of the street. So it's kind of, it's too bad. All the fun's taken out of it.
You've just described a sad and lonely place, Glenn. We're gonna have to go there and
Well, when our kids
liven
were,
it up.
when our kids were growing up, you know, their friends would all come over with their parents, and we'd have a big pizza party at the house, and we'd take the kids out trick-or-treating up and down the block. But we just didn't have to pass out a lot of candy. So this Halloween, I'm going to go vote, though, because I just found my polling place is open on October 31st.
Okay, it could be either scary or very interesting, or both.
It could be. Depends how they decorate it. It's at Patrick Henry High School.
Fun.
It's the first time they've had polling open several days. Besides
Polling
having
places, yes. Yeah,
Polling
otherwise, the polling places are only open on election day, but this is a new year, a different year. I've worked elections the past like 10 years, so.
I just got a low battery warning. I think I'll probably be able to last the rest of the meeting.
All right, Glenn. Good to hear.
Sorry.
I'll chime in. I've been watching The Haunting of Hill House. That's new series on Netflix. Definitely recommend. Really enjoyed that as a fresh thing. Of course, Hocus Pocus will be my ultimate favorite movie. Also, fun fact, I still have the costume box that I acquired throughout college. So if you come to my socials in the evenings, 9 times out of 10, I am in costume. I was a leprechaun at our social last Thursday. So only a few of you got to see that special treat, but big fan of costumes. I think probably Halloween was at its peak growing up, though. We used to go to walk streets, and I was a little chubby when I was growing up, so getting like mountains of candy and storing it all underneath my bed was very fun. So miss being a kid and feel really sad for all the kids that have to miss out this year. But love seeing all like the creative ways with people making candy shoots and all the things that, you know, Halloween isn't dead. You know, all the houses are still decorated, which that's one thing I want to do this year is go to the Fallbrook house. I've never been to that. If anyone else has, let me know. Apparently they're still open even with COVID. So yeah, that's it for me.
Very cool, Karina. Well, thank you for that piece. I think it's fun, even in the context of COVID. There's going to be fun and interesting things to do for Halloween. Carve a pumpkin. Tell a spooky story. And yeah, pass out some candy if any of your friends come along.
It looks like Heather has something to offer.
Are you there, Heather?
Mickey Mouse or dressing up as a butterfly. If you hear noise in the background, it's because I'm watching my friend's son. He's like 2. That guy's a total, he's like a handful. You got to keep like 100% like.
Oh.
That's fun, Heather. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, Joe is showing when he was the Hulk, right, Joe?
Nice.
That was a great costume. Has anyone seen Floros as the devil? Because that might be something that will haunt all of us in our dreams.
Yeah.
See if I can dig that up.
Yeah. I was the geriatric Hulk, Karina, because I had painted my hair gray and I had a walker. I customized that walker, painted it green to match my skin.
Wow. I like the dedication.
Oh,
I also
yeah.
really like to see everyone's like dog costumes, because dog costumes and baby costumes might be the top 2 favorite things. So if anyone has good dog costumes, I would love to see what you all come up with. I know we have some creative people out there. All right. Tough crowd today, everyone. What's up? Everyone's just in the slump of the week or over it? Like, okay, I feel like I'm doing stand-up comedy and nothing is hitting. No jokes today. All right. Well, speaking of our game night, we did meet last Thursday, and I actually got to play the game. Steve came in and helped captain team boys versus team girls. And this is a picture if you guys want to see what I look like. I have my whole little thing on. Beverages are welcome since we're all from home. So really good time. Does anyone want to comment on that?
I think I might be the only one here other than Lauren. Fantastic job as usual. A lot of fun. I thought you were dressed up for the wrong holiday. When I saw you, Karina, I thought, oh my gosh, have I fallen asleep and it's March already? But great content as always. The games are fantastic. Tom, Gordon, and myself kicked butt. We were on fire. We couldn't be stopped. Lauren is still extremely frustrated, but that's okay. We had a good time. Everyone else, you need to attend these. Karina puts in a lot of work and they're a lot of fun.
Thanks, Steve. All right, upcoming events. We are looking for programs. So if you have any great speakers or programs or fun ideas of tastings that we can do virtually, anything like that, we're trying to gear up a whole calendar for the next year so we can have everything set up. We are going to have couple team meetings for programs and speakers. So if that is something you're interested in, let me know. Okay, and that, I think, well, I'll just keep going. We have our Throwback Tuesday. This tidings, as we've mentioned before, our club, since I think, Doug, you said the 30s, I think, is how far back we've been keeping tidings. And so this one, coming to us from 1980. At the time, we're meeting at the Scottish Rite Center, and it was Ladies' Day because back in the day, there was a time where women weren't allowed as members of Kiwanis. It was all the boys' club, and so this happened to be the Ladies' Day, which they noted in the tidings that it was a very special day for our club. Fellas, bring your wife, family, and friends. And, it was a whopping $7 for the buffet at the time. This was when the election of 80 was coming up. So I figured it was appropriate because they were mentioning it's crossroads in the future of this country, which I feel like we're kind of in the same situation 20 years later. The Hall of Champions was our new member, and I liked the note, a new member, this is what they used to do in the old days, will have his nickname line on his badge changed to orange. The second time, his company or vocation line. The third, his full name line, and all orange badges will be excused from fines for the remainder of the year. So just interesting things that we've done over the years as far as membership. And back in 1980, we contributed $2,500 to the Children's Center at the YWCA shelter, which for 1980, $2,500 donation is pretty significant, especially when buffets were only $7. So it's just a little flashback in time of our club. And stay tuned. Doug usually sends those out every month. Thanks to Doug for digitizing all of these because they're all in just paper form sitting at the Kiwanis office. So thank you, Doug, for bringing back these great pieces of history. Okay, Trivia Tuesday. This is the part where I really hope that someone participates so it's not just me talking this entire meeting.
I promise I'll participate.
Did Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport open, and what was its original name?
Gibbs Field, but I don't know when.
Does anyone have a stab at it?
1952.
No, it was before World War II.
1947.
1942.
1935.
I'll say 36 just to be ahead of him.
39.
38.
37 because it has not been taken yet. So 37 for me.
39.
Okay, the answer is July 1940. So Frisco came in closest with that 39. And it was called Gibbs Field. And it just recently was changed. For a while it was Montgomery Fields, but they did add Gibbs back into the name. So now the full name is Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport.
But I have yet to hear any newscast refer to it as anything other than Montgomery Field.
Well, at least officially on the internet, it is known as Montgomery Gibbs Executive Field.
It must be true.
Since it's Halloween, where does the term jack-o'-lantern come from?
I don't think that's any of your business.
Ireland.
That's good. That's actually really smart.
Concrete
My
answer.
mind. Where are we going with this? That's good.
Yeah, no idea.
The term jack-o'-lantern originates from an Irish folk tale about a
I win.
Joe wins.
who made a deal with the devil. So way to go, Joe, with your Ireland. You were pretty much spot on with that.
Nice job, Joe.
All right. That's it for me, Mike. You got to now be our entertainer.
She's got nothing.
Let's see where we are now.
Do we have a speaker? Do we have a
I
guest?
see quite. Oh, it's maybe 10 minutes remaining before our speaker joins us is the deal, right, Karina? All right. So in the meantime, we're going to have anecdotal stories. Your committees have been working hard on the community impact grants, and we reviewed several over this last week and a half. And that's going well. We're going to meet again upcoming. And what's interesting is that for as long as the RFP was out there, we had relatively few respondents. So we're thinking about another round of asks out there. So if others have ideas on that, on who we might approach to provide us with, their areas of need during COVID, please come forward. Is that fair to say there, Karina? I mean, in terms of what we reconciled, we're going to have quite a few more dollars to give away than what's currently out there.
Why don't we hear from the Ocean Beach Club? Melanie, would you guys like to tell us what's going on with the Ocean Beach Club? I'd love to hear since you're with us and we have some extra time.
Well, pretty much nothing much is happening. We had to call off our kite festival. Actually, we didn't quite call it off. We've been doing our kite festival. This would have been our 72nd year. We said we're not going to break that string. So we had a little kite festival for 3 kids, and they made their kites and they flew them, and we maintained the tradition.
We maintained 10 people exactly.
Yes.
Allowed.
Right. 3 kids and 7 adults were there to do the 72nd Kite Festival. We thought maybe we could do it in the fall, but obviously that's not going to work out either. We had a couple of events that we would normally do in the fall. The fishing derby, which we do out on the Ocean Beach Pier. Going to have to put that off maybe till spring. You can fish anytime, but it's got to be when you can get a permit, which they're not doing right now. We also have had for the last several years the Canine Carnival, 15 years, which is a Halloween contest for dogs with prizes and stuff. It's getting to the point where everybody's doing a Halloween carnival for dogs, and so we're not sure if we're going to keep that up or try to find something more original to do now. But we started it. When we started it, we had like 100 dogs. We were the only people doing it, but now everybody is. Jim?
You talked about interesting or spectacular dog costumes earlier. There have been some over the years that are unforgettable. Our very first one, more than a dozen years ago, there was a group that had a rescue dog, one of these dogs.
A greyhound.
A greyhound from the racetrack down in Tijuana. And the dog was dressed as Cleopatra, complete with the big earrings and
the gold wig, the draped robes.
Yes, riding on a float, which was like a barge, complete with Nubian slaves, all of her owners and family, waving the various
fans and pulling her along.
Yeah, and pulling the float along. So that won first place, best of show. There have been some other spectacular ones over the years. And
one of my favorites, just because it was so cute, is the man himself was in a pirate costume, a very good homemade pirate costume. And riding on his shoulder was a Chihuahua dressed as a parrot.
For 5 hours, the
dog
dog
just sat
stayed
there.
on his shoulder, never raised any sort of
That
ruckus
must have
or
been something
problem.
the dog was used to doing. But yeah, we've had some amazing costumes over the years. But, you know, it's one of those years when you say, well, this is what we would have been doing, and this is what we might have done, and this is what we will try to be doing next year. And that's kind of the year it's been.
We do have a food drive in OB each year, and our club collects about 2/3 of all the food for it. But this year, our partner, the OB Town Council, has decided to go with a semi-virtual event and a GoFundMe page, and going to buy the food and donate it to the food bank. So it's going to be a very different event this year, unfortunately, but it'll be back.
Mm-hmm. That's what we say about pretty much everything. It'll be back. And thank you for having us.
We've had similar situations where we have things that we had to put on hold that we're still committed to bringing back. That's a great report. Thank you very much, Melanie. Oh, pardon me. That's my little Chihuahua. Is that Mr. Floros as devil?
That's Jim Flores.
I love it, Jim.
I think
You
he
know what
has
else?
to match the total fines everybody else has paid based on that.
For sure. I think double fines are in order because of that. And also, for those of you who don't know, come here, dog. My dog is a nut. And Jim Floros was recently awarded by the San Diego Business Journal as the not-for-profit man about town for the year. So congratulations are in order to our dear friend James Floros for that.
I hope that that's the picture they used to honor him.
I think so. In fact, they probably, if they saw that photo, they'd take away the award. So let's just keep that between us.
Good work.
Might I also add, and Judy reminded me that recently we had some extra funds for leftover from Kiwanis Club from last year. And that is Ginger in the background really applauding our efforts. And we were able to dedicate those extra funds to both the Kiwanis International for their Project Eliminate, to eliminate neonatal death rates in developing countries, as well as provide the Ocean Discovery Institute in Midtown the capability to put on additional programs for underserved youth in the community as it relates to, COVID and the like. So your Kiwanis has been working hard to try to distribute funds throughout San Diego in this time of need.
All right.
Yeah.
Good for us.
Yeah, good for us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And good for you, Jim.
Mike, do you want to touch
Congratulations,
the
Say again?
Mike, do you want to touch on the program meeting on later this week? Do you want to invite everyone to join in the program meeting?
Yeah, and yeah, just to carry on to what Karina was saying, Susan reminds me that we're going to, and this is why the surveys are especially useful, is that as we get back the surveys from members and anybody who wants to participate in developing programming for our club meetings for 2021, we're going to be meeting both in person at Stone Brewing coming up on, was that tomorrow night? And also, one sec.
Susan, it looks like our speaker has arrived. So while Mike deals with his situation, maybe you would be happy to introduce our speaker, and we'll have our speaker do his program, and then we'll finish with what Mike's final thought was.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, today we are joined by Eli Straight from UCSD Regional Burn Center. I am delighted to introduce him. He's an amazing individual and a wonderful frontline health provider. Eli, he obtained his nursing credentials 13 years ago. He is a registered nurse and also has a Bachelor of Nursing, Science Nursing, BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Let me say that correctly. He's also a critical care nurse. I think, would you call it a certificate? I'll let Eli get into the details maybe about his resume and what have you, but he's very well versed with the Burn Center, has been there over 10 years, and 3 years ago he took on the role that he holds today. He oversees numerous programs there, and I think that because he had all that bedside care opportunities, and it helped him understand so much about a burn survivor and the family and their needs. Certainly, UCSD Regional Burn Center is a wonderful partner to the Burn Institute, where their medical team provides all of the physical and medical care. Then the patients can come to the Burn Institute to receive more of the emotional support to help ensure that their whole being is well taken care of. So Eli, in addition to his wonderful work at UCSD, he's also a terrific parent. He is a great softball coach to his daughter, and it's just been a thrill to get to know him over the years. And I'm so delighted to have him join us today to share with you about this very important medical center for our community. You know, they serve San Diego and Imperial counties and beyond, and I'll let him expand on that. But we are so fortunate to have this medical facility here in our hometown. So with that, I think we can get started with Eli.
All right, thanks for the nice introduction, Susan. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about myself other than, you know, Susan pretty much covered it. You know, I have worked in the Burn Center for about 10 years now. So, you know, I love it here. It's a pretty unique place to work, and kind of, you know, I think it's, we cover a large area and we treat a lot of patients, but I think there's still a lot of people out in the community that don't know what we do, or kind of, you know, what our role is in the community. So I like to get out and talk to groups like yours and, you know, tell them what we're all about. So I'm going to share my screen here. So hopefully this works. My screen does a weird little flashy thing. So I've got to try to, let's see. There we go. Do you see my screen now? Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to do a little overview of our burn center. So this is the UCSD Hillcrest Hospital. This is the older hospital in UCSD's collection of hospitals now. We've got a bunch of new hospitals up north in La Jolla. I'm sure you've seen off the 5, but this is the older hospital in Hillcrest. So we are supposedly going to be building a new hospital here in the next 10 years or so, but COVID's kind of thrown off all plans for now, but we'll see if that happens. So, so about us, let's see here. There we go. So we are an adult and a pediatric burn center. We do go through verification by the American Burn Association, and that's a collection of burn care professionals that do the verification process. So they come and check us out and make sure we're doing everything, you know, in a good quality way. So we're one of 66 to 70 verified burn centers worldwide. Only about 31 of those are both adult and pediatric centers. And so we do take care of both of those. So if we're really the only admitting pediatric unit in our hospital. So even if a kid gets burns, they go to Rady's, Rady's will send them to us for their burn care. So that's not really commonly known across the community either. So we admit about 400 to 450 burn patients a year for any various types of injuries that I'll go over with you. But yeah, we've been sitting anywhere from about 400 to 450 patients that need in-hospital stays with us. We have a really busy outpatient clinic. It's a very small clinic. Hopefully none of you have been there as patients, but it is a very small clinic. We fit in about 3,000 visits per year there. We have about 800 new outpatients that we see there every year and follow for their care. So we also do over 500 burn surgeries every year. So we have a very busy OR and busy surgical staff. So looking at our catchment area, we cover all of San Diego and Imperial County. So if a patient is out on the border of Mexico at the river or anything like that and gets burned, they will come to us. Eventually, usually through Pioneer or El Centro Regional Medical Center. So we have a big catchment area. You know, Imperial County is pretty much more sparsely populated, but we cover a population of about 3.5 million people in our area, or about 9,000 square miles. We also will see U.S. citizens who are burned in Mexico or that have lived across the border sometimes. We also sometimes get patients from international waters and from boat accidents and that sort of thing. If we're the closest burn center, they may come to us. So we do cover a pretty big area. This is our burn team, our surgical team here. So Dr. Lee is the director of the burn centers. So all of our surgeons here are trauma surgeons as well and general surgeons. So they kind of rotate through services here. So their main training is in trauma, and then they also do burn surgery as well. So Dr. Lee has been our director for about 4 years now. We also have Dr. Godat, and Dr. Higginson is our newest attending. And then we do a burn fellowship as well, where we, have a surgeon in training that then can go on to be a burn surgeon after they complete. This kind of the last step in their medical education. So we have some advanced practice providers. We have 4 advanced practice providers that usually cover our clinic. They also do a lot of stuff around our unit for all of our inpatients. So these 4 folks kind of keep our ship afloat and do a lot of the ordering and a lot of the physical stuff in surgery. So all of them have been very experienced in our burn unit for a long time. So this is some pictures of our nurses. We have about 45 nurses in our ICU and about 12 on our burn special care. So our unit's divided into 2 sides, which has 8 beds for the sicker patients. And then we have 10 beds that is our burn special care, which is a non-monitored unit where we can keep patients who don't need wound care or anything like that. We also have burn techs that are like CNAs that go around and do wound care and all of the other duties on the unit. So a great staff, and the nurses that work here really want to be here because, if you're a nurse, there's a lot of options out there. So, we do our best to filter through all the applications we get for positions for people that really want to be a burn nurse. And I think once they start in our unit, they realize why it's a pretty special place. So. And I would be remiss not to mention our whole team. We have a multidisciplinary team that thinks and works with burn patients all the time. So that's really critical because a lot of burn patients have similar issues throughout their hospitalization and stay. So it's really important to have a team that knows burns. They know what kind of experiences they're going to have. They know what kind of issues they're going to face once they get outside the hospital. So, I can't say enough about them. I mean, they do everything they can to get these patients through their hospital stay. And, the therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, get them moving again. We have child life specialists who see our pediatric patients. So they can get them, help them with adjustment to in-hospital life, which is not easy for kids. Induce different distraction techniques with our psychology team is really important as well, because you can imagine, what kind of PTSD these patients might face or any sort of psychological issues they have. So our team is really important. And like I said, they think and work with burns all the time. So some things that we do around the community, this is just a quick overview, but we do advanced burn life support courses. So this is really geared towards our first responders. We're trying to get more first responder classes in. We finally were able to do a full first responder class last year, and it went really well. So hopefully we can do that again. Like I said, COVID's kind of thrown everything off for in-person classes this year, but this is really the kind of the meat and potatoes of burn care in the first 24 hours after a patient gets injured. So really an important class for any type of first responder, EMT, or anything like that out there. We also held a burn scourge workshop. This has been over 2 years ago now, but this is a community event we had for any providers that were interested in learning more about burn care, and especially being in San Diego, being in a wildfire disaster zone. If you've lived here for any amount of time, you've experienced it. So this was important to touch base with all of our community partners out there and give them kind of basic burn care education, because a lot of times these patients may be housed at other hospitals for a long time if we have another disaster like we did in 2007. So it's important for us to get out and educate all of our partners out in the community. We also do advocacy. So this is for, I guess, 3 years now. I went to Washington, D.C. with Dr. Lee and Brian, and we work through the ABA, and we advocate for burn-related issues. We had a success recently. We had they passed a bill where flame arresters, which are tiny little things that go on the lid of portable gas containers, and stops flame jetting and stops these containers from exploding when they get exposed to flame. So we were able to pass a regulation through the House and Senate that requires these on all portable gas containers now. So that was really important, little thing that we did, it's pretty crazy to see what the wheels of government have to do to turn. And so seeing like this bill has been in the Senate for about 10 years actually. And we finally just got it passed through. So thanks to the efforts of the ABA. And we also advocate for increasing burn and trauma research funding as well. So we were able to get that increased to $10 million per year for burn and trauma research through the military. And that's just a drop in the bucket, but it does do a lot for burn and trauma research. So looking more into epidemiology of burns and kind of what we do and why we do it at the Burn Center. Burns and fires are the third leading cause of accidental death in all age groups. They affect all age groups. There are about 2 million people per year across the country who are burned, and about 80% of those patients are less than 20% total body surface area. Now, when I say that, so when we think of the body as in terms of percentage, so if 20% or more of their body is burned, we consider that a major burn, just because they need more advanced critical care. And those are the patients that go into our ICU and need a lot of care and may stay with us for weeks or months at a time. We do treat a lot of smaller injuries too. Most of these burns are on the smaller side, so that's good, but they still end up staying in our hospital for a long time because skin just takes a long time to heal. So when I say 20% total body surface area, it doesn't mean burns less than that are not severe, because they can be. It's just that it kind of differentiates between the kind of critical care they might need. Burns account for at least 5,000 deaths per year. These are kind of old numbers. I'm sure they've probably increased or, hopefully decreased based on prevention efforts, but it's really hard to say that. Over 75,000 people a year require hospitalization for their burns. So burn care in children is important as well. Children 4 years old and younger account for half of all the pediatric admissions we see. So this is the group that doesn't recognize sort of safety hazards, and they will go up and reach and grab grandma's coffee off the counter or whatever else. So this is a really critical population that we deal with a lot too, and I'll talk a little bit more about what kind of injuries we see in that group as well. Sorry, this is kind of where we start the gross picture part of our presentation. You can't do a burn presentation without including some graphic photos, but I think I try not to include too much, but I think it does drive home a few points. I really like to think of our unit as more of a skin unit versus a burn unit, because we take care of all sorts of skin disorders, and a majority of our patients are burn patients, but we also get a fair amount of patients that have skin disorders like Stevens-Johnson syndrome, where basically their top layer of skin will come off as a result of a drug reaction. So these patients require full body dressings. They require really intense wound care. So they'll stay on our unit for a while too. Any type of skin disorder we will treat, necrotizing fasciitis. The most common type of burn we see is a scald injury. So that's any hot liquid, grease or water or anything else. We do see some electrical injuries. It's not common to have a huge electrical injury, but when they're bad, they're very bad. And it's a difficult sort of injury to treat. We see flame injuries are more common in adults than kids. Car fires with, combined trauma is something we see as well. We'll treat road rash. We try not to treat every road rash that comes into our hospital because that's a lot of it, a lot of road rashes. But anything that needs grafting or advanced wound care, we will treat. So there are 1,001 different ways to get burned. So anything that you can think of, we've probably seen in our unit at one time or another. So this is my little PSA about scalds and water heater temperature. So I'd encourage all of you to go home and draw the hottest water out of your bath that you can and measure the temperature, because a lot of times these home water heaters can be set to temperatures that can scald you very quickly. So the suggested water heater temperature for a home water heater is 120 degrees. And the reason that is because it won't burn you for at least 3 minutes after you put your any extremity in it. If as soon as you increase that temperature by 3 degrees, 5 degrees, the temperature or the duration to receive a severe burn goes up exponentially as well. So, and you can see once you get up to about 160 degrees, it's almost instantaneous. You can get a very severe burn. So these are scald injuries on the right-hand side of this slide that you can see. And again, the most common injury we see by far. This is just looking a little bit of data about our admission. So this is a little bit old from 2018. But you can easily see that scalds and flames are the most common types of burn injuries that we see. We do see some contact injuries. So this is just coming in contact with a hot surface. Only a few electrical injuries, a few chemical injuries, and flash injuries are, like say you're lighting a barbecue and the propane flashes at you and then goes away, doesn't catch your clothes on fire. That's considered a flash injury. And then these other and unspecified injuries are maybe patients that only have an inhalation injury. They woke up in a smoky room and, they may have some damage to their lungs, but they don't have any burns to their skin, or all these other skin disorders that we treat as well. But again, 442 admissions in 2018, and most of them are scalds and flame burns. So this is looking at the age groups that we see, again, from 2018. So you can see over here in the red box there, that's our pediatric population. And you can see the 0 to 1 year old on the far left side, we had 31 admissions. So that accounted for a large bulk of our pediatric admissions. So those are, the kids that are just learning to walk. They'll grab anything. They don't understand the dangers of anything hot. And so we do treat a lot of kids in the under 2-year-old range. And so it's very traumatic for the parents, very traumatic for the child. And then as you can see, the 2 to 3-year-old range, again, not very safety aware. So that we had a lot of admissions there. But once you get up to the 4 to 6-year-old range, those numbers drop off pretty dramatically. Those are the kids that, they know not to grab the hot things. So they're a little bit more aware of their surroundings. And then once you get up into the teenage years or even above 10, these are the kids that start cooking for themselves at home, and may burn themselves that way. They might start doing some more dangerous activities and doing that sort of thing that might burn themselves. We also get a lot of patients in the geriatric range, and they can be very difficult to treat as well. They have a lot of comorbidities that we have to deal with on top of their burn. So that can be a very difficult population just because they need to be in the hospital for a long time. and their comorbidities can really complicate things with their recovery. So anytime a patient lays in a hospital bed for more than a few days at a time, they start losing muscle mass and they start losing their ability to get around. That's why we get our therapists involved early. We keep our patients moving as much as we can so they can get out of the hospital and return to normal life. So this is just showing that males are a lot more likely to get burned than females. So good job, girls. You are much more safety aware and less dangerous than the males out there. But it's remarkably similar every year, where about 65% of our patients are male and about 35% are female. So it's pretty much the distribution across the country too. So be careful out there, guys. So just looking at types of burns and why certain burns look the way they do, and giving you some examples of this. So this is a little histogram of our skin. So, trying not to get too medical on you guys, but I think it's very interesting. I mean, I think people don't appreciate how complex the skin is and what, a vital role it plays in who we are, and also, the protection of our body and ourselves. So looking at first degree burns, so these are burns that only affect the epidermal layer. So these are kind of the dead and dying skin cells that are always regenerating themselves. So superficial burns, we don't usually need to treat in the burn center unless, it's a super huge burn or it's a burn that, maybe got an infection, but usually we don't need to treat superficial burns in the burn center. So second degree burns are now called partial thickness burns. We still use both terminologies, but they call them partial thickness just to talk about the depths of the dermis that is burned. So you can see once you get down into the dermal layer, there's more complex skin structures, including sweat glands and oil glands, hair follicles. And so once those start getting burned, you're going to see a different appearance in the wounds. Also the blood vessels and everything in there. So once you get to third degree burns, you're all the way down to that fat layer at the bottom, where all the layers of the skin are basically destroyed, and they're going to need pretty intense wound care or surgery, which go all the way down to muscle or fat. We usually only see those in patients that are unable to remove themselves from a heat source, like say in a car accident, or also in electrical injuries. We'll see some fourth degree burns, but thankfully not that common. So looking at what different kinds of wounds look like. So this is a superficial burn or a sunburn. We don't include these in counting how big a burn is. It's only the epidermal layer. These are very painful. Pain in a burn wound is actually a good thing. It doesn't make our patients feel better when we tell them that, but it does make us more hopeful that there are structures in the skin that are still there. It means the depth of the burn is not as bad. So you can see that on the bottom left there's some blisters on that sunburn. So anytime you see blisters on a burn, that means it's at least a second degree burn. So you've at least gone through the epidermal layer into the dermal layer. So if there's blisters, it's releasing that kind of serous fluid. So you do have at least a second degree burn. Usually these peel and heal within about a week. Again, they're annoying. They can be very painful, but they don't need to be treated in the burn center. So these are some examples of superficial partial thickness burns. So you see the difference in these. They either have the blisters intact, like that bottom left one on the thumb, or the blisters have kind of been removed, or that top layer of skin is removed. They usually look really wet and moist. So wet in a burn wound is a good thing. That means that, there's still blood flow to that area. These could still be super painful depending on how deep that burn goes. So again, they're probably going to need a lot of pain control. These are burns that might need to be treated in the burn center for pain control and good wound care. These can heal with the proper care in about 2 to 3 weeks. Again, it just takes time, and if you don't care for it properly, you could develop an infection or something else. So we will admit these patients sometimes just so we can really clean their wounds good and make sure it's nice and covered and clean. So these are examples of pull-down scald injuries. This is the most common injury we see in our pediatric population. This is a very common injury pattern that we see on this middle picture down here. And pretty dramatic based on his darker skin tone. You can see the skin where it's been exposed. But this is common, you can see where he had taken a hot liquid, put it up to his mouth to take a drink, and then spilled it all over himself. And then it has kind of this, V-shaped appearance down the chest. So the good thing about our unit, we bring our pediatric patients in, and instead of like inflicting, a bunch of pain on them so we can clean their wounds, we actually put them under general anesthesia in our sedation room, and are able to put them totally under for their wound care, so we can really clean it really well, really cover it, put a nice dressing on it, and then they aren't as traumatized through it, and we're not trying to fight them. And so again, like I said, this is a very common injury and very preventable injury. So we really try to focus our prevention efforts on this type of injury just because it's so common and affects a really vulnerable population. I put the picture of cup of noodles there. Cup of noodles is very dangerous, and I would suggest nobody eat them, but they are still available. They're still really cheap. They're, more accessible to people, that live in, sort of lower socioeconomic situations. So again, this is something that's really preventable, and we would like to see this go away, but I don't, it's very hard. The kids just come up and grab it, and it happens like that right in front of grandma, right in front of mom, so very hard injury to deal with. So these are deep partial thickness burns. So these are, again, into the dermal layer, but not all the way through it. These are patients that might need surgery. So it just depends on how well we're able to treat it. You can see in the shoulder picture there that there's some white to yellowish areas on the burn. So if it's white or yellow, that could signify a deeper burn. So we'll bring them in and aggressively treat it with some good topical ointments that we have. Try to get it to heal as much as possible. If it doesn't heal within a few days, we'll take them to surgery, and then we'll have to either put a temporary graft or a permanent graft on it. These, you might still have a little pain. The pain might be a little less because the nerve endings are a little bit more affected here. So, but if we can get it to heal, we can usually keep scarring down to a minimum. Everybody scars in a different way, so you can't say, one burn injury is going to scar any worse or any better than another one. It's really very patient specific, and some patients are more prone to keloid scarring, different types of scars that can limit their movement. So we really follow these patients for a long time. We have a long-term clinic on our 3rd floor, and we have the Burn Institute come to that as well to offer survivor resources. But that's where we can really see how they're healing. We see them for up to a year. Even after that, we do laser procedures that I'll talk a little bit about as well for scarring and discoloration. So, this is not an injury that just heals overnight. This is something that really takes a lot of time to return to normal. So this is a pretty dramatic picture here of a full thickness burn. So this is a 3rd degree burn. It goes all the way through all layers of the skin. You can see the difference in the appearance here, especially in the middle where it's brown and white. So that feels very, like if you were to feel that, it would feel very hard. So these patients are not going to heal without surgery. This is a big burn. He's intubated in the ICU here. So again, you might see kind of a white charred appearance, anything that's dry or leathery. You might even see some coagulated vessels. This is usually a flame burn. So this guy's shirt caught fire. And so these are flame burns that burn really hot. And so they can cause deeper wounds. This patient will need excision and grafting, so definitely going to need surgery. It might not hurt at all. So we get a lot of patients that have smaller 3rd degree burns, like maybe on their arm or something, and they don't seek treatment right away because it doesn't hurt. And they think, well, it doesn't hurt, it must not be a bad burn. And that's actually quite the opposite. It's actually a very severe burn. And since they can't feel it, it means it's really cooked through all the layers of the burn, of the skin. So talking just a little bit about, say you get burned at home, or, somebody gets burned, there are simple things you can do. We don't want to put ice on burns. Ice actually decreases blood flow to areas. So you don't want to put straight ice on a wound, but you can put cool water on it. Cool water is fine. It will be, it will feel good. Ice feels good on the wound, but it actually can increase the depth of the injury. So I would just say, just don't put any ice on it. Cool water, cool washcloth. to kind of ease the pain right away. I put this picture of this kid up here because he's smothered in toothpaste. There are a lot of home remedies out there that people do. Toothpaste is one of them. A lot of, people say grandma used to put eggs on the burn, so they'll put eggs on it, or butter. I've seen every condiment from the refrigerator. I tell people just because you cooked it doesn't mean you need to go to the refrigerator and get the ketchup out. I saw motor oil one time that somebody thought was a good idea to put on a burn. Basically, don't do any of that except, if you have Neosporin or anything like that, that's a good thing, but don't go to your refrigerator for any sort of burn treatments. So again, burns are painful. So usually we just treat with ibuprofen and Tylenol if it's a small injury. If it's bigger, and you need to come in and get some pain medicine, we will give, some sort of opiate to get you through the initial stages of the burn. But if pain's out of control, or you can't take care of the wound or anything like that, then you're going to need to come to the emergency room. Any emergency room that gets burn patients usually calls us for referral. So they can either treat your wound at that emergency room and then refer you to us, or they can just send you right over. So, but again, if you can keep a burn clean and covered, you're probably gonna be able to prevent infection in that wound. We don't start burn patients on antibiotics right away. There's no reason to do that. If we do see signs of infection in the wound, we might start on antibiotics. But again, if you're able to clean that wound, we'll have patients shower just like normal and with soap and water, and then keep that wound covered until it's healed. Then usually we can prevent infection that way. But it is a problem we see, with patients that can't do good wound care at home. This is just a picture that demonstrates how we do autografting. So this is, say you have a 3rd-degree injury or anything that won't heal on its own, then we will do an autograft. And so we use, this looks like a cheese grater. That's basically what it, or a cheese slicer. That's almost what it is. It goes into the skin, takes the top layer of skin off, and then we run it through a meshing machine, and it covers over this burn injury. So the only way to heal these burns definitively, we can't use any temporary coverings over these wounds. We have to use your own skin to do it. So this is a problem when we have very big injuries, like say a 95% burn, where they don't have any good healthy skin to take. We can actually send a culture off to a lab and have skin grown in a lab for them. It's very expensive. It's very hard to care for, but we actually have options if, say it's a really large injury. But again, this is the only way where we can really, really cure that wound. And then this is just a few examples, a few newer treatments that we have. Burn care has not progressed greatly over the last 60 years. We're still kind of stuck with our old tricks, but we do have a few new things that are really kind of changing the game. This is Epifix, which is a dehydrated human amniotic membrane. And so they're able to treat this amniotic membrane and then put it into like sort of a sheet layer form. We treat a lot of kids with this. It prevents them from getting an autograft. The bad thing about an autograft is we're basically inducing another wound. So we don't want to do it unless we have to. But this Epifix or amniotic dressing really does wonders for our kids especially. And we can put this on and send them home, and then they follow up on our clinic in a week and they're usually healed. So it's really a pretty miraculous product. This is a RECELL. This is a very new technology. This only passed through FDA approval just last year. This is a technology that uses this little kit here that you see. We take a small section of the skin and scrape off the epithelial cells off the top of that in surgery, and then we can spray it over the top of wounds. This picture down on the bottom right is a pediatric patient that had a big burn. And then we were able to autograft it, and then we use this RECELL over it. And this basically a spray-on solution, and we cover it up, and they heal so well. They heal very quickly. So the coloring is very nice. So this is really kind of changing the game a lot for us. This is a company that's based out of Australia, but we see less contracture, better epithelialization. We don't have to take as much donor skin, which is very nice. The donor sites are very painful. So overall, this has really changed the game for us quite a bit in burn surgery. We also do laser treatments that I was mentioning. We usually do these after a year, up to after a year after their injury. So we have 2 lasers that we can use for discoloration of burn scars, and then also hypertrophic, which are like raised scars or painful scars. We're also getting a laser that's going to treat itching, which itching is a terrible problem in burn injuries. Like, it's one of the main things that burn survivors complain about that go through surgery. So we're getting a new laser, hopefully within the next few months, where we can actually treat patients that have uncontrollable itching in their wounds. You know, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the Burn Institute. You know, thank you to Susan for setting this up. You know, the Burn Institute is really, you know, so important in what we do, because, you know, they're able to focus in on sort of like all the support that these burn survivors need to get back to real life. They've, you know, anytime we ask them for anything, they say yes, almost all the time. So they've given our patients burn garments. So these are burn garments. These are what burn patients wear for like up to a year to many years after their injury, to help cover their wounds or cover their scarring and keep it compressed, and also help protect, offer a layer of protection to their skin. They've, you know, the Burn Institute's provided transportation back and forth to clinic visits. They do all the support groups, camps, retreats. Again, I can't say enough about them. You know, Susan is a great partner to have out in the community, and Leilani and all the staff there. So thank you for everything. And if you'd like a good place to donate your money to, that's a good place to start. And I'd be happy to take questions if anybody had any.
I have a question.
Screen share here.
What's your week-to-week patient caseload on the ward?
Well, it can change pretty dramatically. So after COVID, once COVID hit, we kind of had a slow period. And then within about a month, we were as busy as we'd ever been in our unit, with as far as like our very high acuity. So we have a, you know, 8-bed ICU, and then we had patients in other units in our hospital actually too. So it's very hard to predict. You can't say, you know, 1 month is the big burn month where everybody's going to get burned. It's really unpredictable through the year. I mean, there are some trends, but it's hard to pin down really. You know, we carry anywhere from 12 up to 25 patients at a time on our service. So it's always busy, never boring in the burn unit. So
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Judy.
Oh, sorry. Were you finished? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I know you said don't go to your refrigerator to look for cures, but I just vividly remember my mother and grandmother always would, you know, if there was a scald injury, they would run to the refrigerator and put butter on it as a way to protect it, keep the air off of it. And I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Do you know?
So here's the thing. So if a burn injury is not terrible, like say it's a, you know, a 2nd-degree burn, you could probably put anything on it and it would heal. So that includes butter, that includes ketchup, you know, anything you can get from the fridge. I've seen people put mustard, which I imagine mustard is very painful because it has vinegar in it. You know, some of these things are probably not going to make the wound feel better. And what happens is basically once you put that on there, it just creates a bacterial layer that the you know, bacteria are going to love. But like I said, some wounds are going to heal no matter what you put on them. So that, you know, when you hear the wives' tales about, you know, eggs and butter and everything else working, I mean, they probably did, but it probably would have healed anyway. So, you know what I'm saying?
Hi, I have a quick question about the pediatric numbers. So this is Loretta from the Burn Institute, grant writer and admin associate. I like to get, you know, good numbers out there so that we can help folks, you know, really give money to the cause and understand how detrimental this really is for children.
Absolutely.
The number I have for you here is that 4 years old or younger account for half of the pediatric burn admissions, but what % of total admissions are children? And could you maybe break that down by different age?
About 1/3 of our admissions are children. So, and we consider a pediatric admission 14 years and younger. So about 1/3, you know, and we admit about 400 patients a year. So right around 100 to 125 kids per year.
Thank you.
And it's, you know, it's like I said, it's pretty variable. So, you know, each year is a little bit different on injuries you're going to see. You know, you're always going to see a lot of scald injuries in kids. You know, the second most common type of injury is a contact injury in a kid where they go up and grab the hair curler or something like that. So it's a little hard to predict, but there are trends.
Do you have that number for seniors as well? Because we have a program that you know, supports seniors, and would love to get that information too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do see a lot of seniors, like I was saying, and you know, some of their injuries are not terrible if it were to happen in a 20-year-old, but you know, in a older person where their skin is a little thinner, you know, they don't tolerate that heat as well. You know, you know, and plus when you add in the comorbidities and the, you know, the difficulty with rehabilitation in the older population, it can be very challenging. I would really like to have a focused, you know, senior prevention effort out there. You know, and I know you guys do a lot, but I think there's opportunities for scald prevention. We see flame injuries in geriatric patients as well. So.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so back to that whole burning yourself with the curling iron thing. So yeah, you can burn yourself one time, but what if you repeatedly burn the same spot with your curling iron? What happens then? And I'm asking for a friend, not me.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you can build scar tissue up over and over again. You know, we've had patients that kind of do that where, you know, like, especially I'm thinking of a patient that had epilepsy, and she would have seizures when she was cooking. And so, you know, obviously kind of a dangerous situation. And she would put her hand down on the stove. So she had like burns over and over again on the same area. But yeah, it can cause problems with scarring. And then, you know, mainly I would think scarring would be the main bad news with like burning yourself over and over again on the same area. And eventually, you know, you're going to have to stop curling your hair if you keep burning yourself.
Right. Well, let's just hold that one in reserve, and we'll see how. Maybe I'll just be more careful. I mean, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Your friend. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Eli, I have a question.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
Hi. I noticed the net that you pull from, mainly San Diego Imperial.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a major event, perhaps in another part of the country, do you in-flight individuals?
Yeah. So we have a, oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you? We have the Western Region Burn Disaster Consortium. And so that's a group that's through the ABA. So that's it's headquartered out of Utah, but it covers all of the Western states. And so that's put together basically to handle any surge of patients, any big events. You know, the West is always dealing with wildfires, as you guys know. So that's kind of what prompted it. So, you know, we can surge up to about 150 patients in San Diego County, just using our existing resources. You know, that's a kind of an estimation based on the other trauma centers and the beds that we think, you know, may be available at any one time. But anything that's over 150 patients, which thankfully we have not had, you know, then we're going to start looking to other burn centers, you know, and California has a lot of burn centers. You know, the closest one to us will be Irvine, UC Irvine. And then there's also one in Riverside, Arrowhead. And then LA has a few, USC and UCLA. I don't think UCLA has one. But yeah, that's definitely something we think about, and we maintain relationships with other burn centers. So, you know, if they have a disaster in Utah, they can send us patients in the same way if we have a disaster here. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions out there for Lakwani?
Well,
go ahead, Susan.
Well, this is Susan, and I just want to thank Eli and his tremendous team in helping provide this wonderful medical care here for our region. Certainly the Burn Institute, I have to do my own PSA, and that is to go to burninstitute.org to learn more prevention. tips and how to keep you and your loved ones safe. So we have tons of resources. We would prefer that you never get to meet the UCSD Regional Burn Center staff in any way, shape, or form, except for maybe a Zoom call. So keep yourself safe. Take a few minutes to make sure you're checking your home for your smoke alarms and what have you. Earlier this month, we had Burn Prevention Week, and Fire Prevention Week rather, and we really hope that everyone takes it seriously, because I think once you learn that the burn center is seeing up to 450 inpatients a year, add to that 800 outpatients, add to that the number of injuries that are seen in other emergency rooms and doctor visits and urgent care. I mean, it's pretty significant, and it's not to be taken lightly. It's one of those like little mysteries, I think, of our community, just how frequent burns are impacting so many of our residents. So take a few minutes and protect yourself.
I'd just like to say thank you, Eli. That was one of the most informative talks I've ever heard.
Oh, good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, certainly a heavy topic, but so worthwhile. And thank you so much for everything that you do, Eli. And Susan, thank you for pulling together the talk and all the great work that you do there at the Burn Institute. Any other comments or announcements from our members before we wrap up? Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Karina, thank you as always for putting together such a fantastic slideshow. I apologize that I had the little interruption with my dog earlier. She was playing good guard dog. Well, one of my son's fellows came over. But I wish everybody a great next 2 weeks, and we'll look forward to another great meeting upcoming, and join us at Stone Brewing if you can tomorrow night. And with that, bring the meeting to, yes, Doug.
Great job.
You're
Great
saying bye.
program.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.